a good, good God. Come on, high five one person, tell him he saved me. High five your second choice, tell him he raised me. Amen, amen. Come on, you can have a seat. We love you, Jesus. Come on, is there anybody excited to be at church today? That is an oldie but a goodie. It's a classic, man, in the spirit of Thanksgiving. I was singing it on the way to church today, and I told the band, I said, you think we can do this? And I love our band. Our band is a reflection of our church. I'm excited about worship auditions, by the way. Make some noise if you're going to be trying out. What are you going to be trying out? Okay, nobody sounds just. It's be like, my job is right here, Pastor. This is my zone right here. I don't go there, I stay here. And I love it because I started to sing it. Now, raise your hand if you grew up in church and you recognize that song. Keep your hand raised, because I want you to see how many hands aren't raised. And that's what I love about Journey Church. We have someone on our worship team who was like, I've never heard this song before in my life. And that's because, they say that 83% or something like that of the people who make decisions to become Christians or follow Christ, they do so before the age of 17, which is why Journey Kids and Journey Youth is so important. We're doing the majority of the work here. But there are people who God has not given up on. He'll find you in your 20s. He'll find you in your 30s. He'll find you in your 40s. And this is a church of people who didn't just grow up in church, but who met Jesus along the way, and God's restored them. And when we dreamed about Journey Church 3 years ago, we said that's the kind of church we wanted, where people didn't know anything about Jesus, but they would come and meet him and fall in love with him. And so if you fell in love with Jesus, make some noise. Come on, give him some praise. He's beautiful. If you're here today and you have not fallen in love with Jesus today, that is our objective every Sunday. Every single Sunday is to present him in such a beautiful way that you would decide to absolutely follow him with all of your life. Well, if we haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, my name is JJ, and alongside my wife, Liz, we have the privilege and joy of serving Journey Church as its pastors. And before we go any further, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. First-time guests are a big deal for us because there's so many other things you could be doing on a Sunday. And there's so many other churches that you could be visiting as well. So the fact that you're here, it means the world. We don't mess around. We take that seriously. So I know we did it already. Journey Church, would you help me welcome all of our first-time guests one more time? Come on. It's a big deal. We hope you stay. We hope you meet a friend. If you're single, we hope you find someone, get married here, and all those good things, and have kids and grow them up here and raise them here and all that. So maybe I took that one too far. I don't know. But I want to do a quick, big thank you as well, not just to our first-time guests for coming, but to Journey Church in general. Last Sunday was Legacy Sunday, and if you're a guest, you don't know what that is, but last Sunday, the members of our church took a step of faith, made the biggest step of faith they've ever made in their life. We have been talking about this initiative, Don't Hold Back, this vision that we have for 2020 and 2021. And people have been sacrificially giving financially to make this dream possible. We believe God's calling us to start a second Journey Church somewhere here in the city to reach people and to move into a permanent building so that the impact of our ministry can grow and stretch. And it's amazing. I can't tell you the total number of commitments for two reasons. One is because December 8th, say December 8th, is Celebration Sunday, and on that Sunday, we're going to reveal the total number of commitments, and we're really, I'll just say this, we're close. We said we needed $3.2 million of commitments to be able to make this dream happen a reality, and all I can tell you is that we're close, and I will tell you, if that was only our secondary goal, and we're going to need help. We're going to have to hit our primary goal in order to achieve our secondary goal. And our primary goal, I don't know if you remember this, was 100% participation. That's our ultimate goal, to keep it 100. And so I want to encourage those who were not able to make it last Sunday because either A, you knew it was Legacy Sunday, and so you just stayed home, or B, it was just too cold, or you were out of town with family, whatever it is. We've got a website, don'tholdbackorlando.com, and we've made commitment cards available online. And so we've got 14 days, we've got 2 weeks left to try and reach our goal. And I think if we can just get a couple more people to take that step of faith, if you go to the website, all the information is there, how to do it, I think we can really do this thing. And so December 8th, we're excited about it. We've been talking about it as a staff. We're humbled to hear the testimonies that have been coming in from people, like I mentioned last week, who are foregoing vacations, who are foregoing car upgrades and iPhone upgrades and Jordan upgrades and all of these upgrades just so they could participate in this. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so thank you again. But we're not done. We've got 14 days left. If you haven't had the opportunity, or you were in Israel, if you haven't had the opportunity, our Israel team just got back from Israel. So there we go. Yeah. Don't forget to fill out your card. And so you have an opportunity, you have a chance to do so. All right, well, if you have a Bible, I want you to turn to the book of Numbers, chapter 11, 1 through 6 is what we're going to be reading. If you don't have a Bible, that's not a problem. We put the verses up on the screen for you. The book of Numbers, that's like every Christian's pickup line right there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all heard that line, right? You ever heard that line? You go up to the girl, right? If you're a dude, go up to the girl. If you're a girl, just wait, they'll come. And say, and you say, don't be that girl. Let him do it. It's just, he'll come to you, he'll go, hey girl, I was looking in the book of Numbers, and I couldn't help but realize that yours ain't in it. But that was my line with Liz. I'm just kidding. She would have slapped me in the face had I said that. All right, let's go ahead and read in the book of pickup lines, chapter 11, verse 1 through 6 goes like this. Now the people complained about their hardships in the hearing of the Lord. And when he heard them, his anger was aroused, and then fire from the Lord burned among them and consumed some of the outskirts of the camp. Not in the camp, but the outskirts of the camp. Verse 2, and when the people cried out to Moses, he prayed to the Lord, and the fire died down, so that the place was called Taberah, that means burning, Hebrew to English, because fire from the Lord had burned among them. I think it's an interesting point to note that the fire happened on the outskirts and the fire happened among them, but not on them or in them. In the Bible, fire is a symbol of either blessing or judgment, but in this case, I think it was both. Because he was judging the people by burning the outskirts, but he was also saving them because he preserved what was on the inside. And I think sometimes, because what was happening was, if it was on the outskirts, then it was their trees that were on fire, maybe some of their cattle that had burned up, but their homes and their families were saved. And I think sometimes God will set a fire to the material things in order to save the eternal things in your life. I really do believe that. I think sometimes God will set a fire in your life if that's what it takes to save your life. How many people can testify to that? If there was a fire that broke out in your life and it burned among you but not in you. It burned among you but not on you. It burned among you on the outskirts, but it preserved what was on the inside. Sometimes God will allow that to happen in your life. Verse 4, the rabble with them began to crave other food. And again, the Israelites started wailing and said, like right after the fire, like they didn't even wait that long, like right after. Again, the Israelites started wailing and said, if we only had meat to eat. They said, vegan for what? Ain't nobody a vegan in here. If we only had meat to eat. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt at no cost. Also the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks. Leeks is a vegetable. And the onions and the garlic. But now we have lost our appetite. We never see anything but this manna. Here's my title for today's message. Forget.Full. Forget.Full. Tell your neighbor, forget.Full. Well, this week is Thanksgiving, and in all honesty, I chose this verse because as I read it, I got hungry. I was thinking about eating, and I started to read verses about cucumbers and fish and meat, and I was like, I'm going to preach that verse because it's either the Holy Spirit ministering to me right now or just my flesh. I'm hungry. I don't know. But whatever I do, I'm going to be able to preach it with passion come Sunday because I love Thanksgiving. And I got to be honest, I don't just love Thanksgiving because of the ability to say thank you to all the people that I love in my. I can do that on any day. Here's what I get to do on this day that I don't get to do on any day. I get to break the commandment about being a glutton. I get to do that on Thanksgiving. I feel like God gives us all permission on that day. I'm just kidding, probably not. We're probably really being bad when we do that. But we eat, and anybody else love food? Come on. Anybody else love Thanksgiving because of the food? Come on, and I know I hate to do this to you because you might not have had breakfast, but I'm going to just go down a list here, some things that I love about Thanksgiving. I love the roast turkey on Thanksgiving. I love the fried turkey on Thanksgiving. Now, both of these pictures look the same, but they're not, okay? Fried turkey's on another level. These are for all of the Latin people in the house. I love the pernil on Thanksgiving. For everyone who has no idea why people are shouting, that is pork shoulder. We have found a way as Latin people to make it delicious, all right? I love the baked mac and cheese. Come on, anybody grew up on this baked mac and cheese? If you grew up in the South, not only did you have baked mac and cheese, we don't have a picture for it, but you had the cheese grits. Come on, you know what I'm talking about, the cheese grits. I like green bean casserole. It's the only form I will eat green beans in. I like sweet potato casserole with the marshmallows and the cinnamon on top of it. If it ends in a casserole, I like it. My favorite dessert on Thanksgiving is the pumpkin pie with the whipped cream on top and the vanilla ice cream on the side. Come on, I'm talking about Spirit of God in this place today. And then here's what we all love, our favorite meal of Thanksgiving. Not the turkey, not the casserole, not the green beans, not the pumpkin pie. What we all love are the leftovers. Come on. Come on, if your fridge looks like this the day after Thanksgiving, you are blessed and highly favored. There is an outpour of abundance on you. Come on, His mercy never fails. His grace leads into every day. My mercies are new right here. And you know what I love the most about leftovers? Forgetting that you have them. Come on, somebody. Because we have trained ourselves on a midday, weekday afternoon, maybe the Saturday, we're hungry, and we're so used to being hungry, and we just prepare ourselves for disappointment when we go to the fridge. Because we know that when we open the fridge, there's going to be nothing there. We've just been trained that way, you know what I'm saying? And then you know what you do. You open the fridge, there's nothing there, you close it, and then you open it again. Like if the second time you opened it, there would be food that was there that wasn't there the first time. Or you do the stare and pray. You know what I'm talking about? Where you just look into the void of your fridge that has no food in it. But if you stare long enough, maybe you'll get some type of creativity to put the things together that don't go together. But it's like, I'm really hungry. And am I right about it? And you trained yourself to just be disappointed when you go to the fridge. And the best part about leftovers is that you approach this fridge with disappointment already. And then you open it up, and to your surprise, there is turkey and casserole, and you are blessed. And I share this story with you to communicate that my momentary lapse of judgment there, that momentary sadness, I didn't experience it because I did not have what I wanted. I didn't experience it because I forgot what I had. I forgot what I had. You know, every week of Thanksgiving, if you can track our sermons all the way back to when we launched in 2016, I've done my best on this week to preach a message on the topic of gratitude. We already did generosity. I'm still with that. of gratitude and gratefulness. And the reason why I think I do that is because gratefulness is just so powerful. Gratefulness is so powerful because gratefulness has the power that when nothing changes in your life, everything changes in your life. With gratefulness. Gratefulness has the power to shift your attitude even when your situation doesn't shift. That even when your situation doesn't shift, your joy shifts with gratefulness. That even when your finances don't shift, your depression shifts when you live a life full of gratefulness. Gratefulness is powerful because gratefulness can change things when nothing is changing. Gratefulness is powerful because gratefulness is an antidote. An antidote to a poison that was introduced to humanity thousands and thousands of years ago, a poison called wanting. Now, you might not know this, but wanting, there was a time when human beings did not know what wanting was. If you go back to the book of Genesis, when God creates Adam and Eve, they didn't know what wanting was. Why? Because they had everything they needed. They didn't care about the latest fashions. They walked around butt naked. They didn't need to stay warm. They had the glow of the glory of God clothing them and keeping them warm. They had all the fruit in the world save one that was allowed for them. They didn't know what it meant to want until they met a snake with a silver tongue who convinced them, and he's doing it today, that they did not have everything that they needed. He said, you can be like God. And he sold them on something. Are you ready for the irony? They were made in God's image. They were already like him. Here's the irony. The devil sold them on something they already had. You know, you can have everything you need everything you have, and still want, because it's not rational. It's not logical. Want is really just a false need. By the way, marketers do that really, really well. You didn't even know you needed the banana peeler 4X1000. You thought your life was fine, and one day on your Facebook, it throws a Facebook ad, the banana peeler 4X1000. You just place the banana in the banana peeler. You'll save 30 seconds in peeling your banana, and then the ad says you can use those 30 seconds to invest in your marriage. You can use those 30 seconds to go to college. You can use those 30 seconds to make a living. And now all of a sudden you're like, I didn't know I needed it until you told me, right? It's a want, and I do this with my kids. I feel like I'm spending half my time teaching my kids the difference between needing and wanting. And the problem is really not wanting. The problem is what happens when our wants go unfulfilled for a long time. Because what happens then is that a void is then created. And then when the void is then created, here's what we do. We get desperate in an attempt to fill the void. That shouldn't even be there because you already have everything that you need. Am I losing you or with you? Are you with me? We do things that we wouldn't do, and we say things that we wouldn't say when the void is there. It's like that Snickers commercial. You know, you're not yourself when you're hungry. That's what this commercial says. But we have another word for it. Somebody shouted out. It's called hangry. So when you're hungry and you're angry that you're hungry and you've got an attitude with everybody, you know it's not just your stomach that gets hangry. You know you can get hangry in your relationships and then get desperate and do some things you wouldn't normally done if you wasn't hangry. You could get desperate and all of a sudden lower your standard to a crazy level. Just say yes to the first person who likes you just because you got hangry. You know, you can get hangry in your finances. You have a friend that comes up and tells you about this get rich quick. If you just invest $1,000, I can turn your $1,000 into $10,000 in 2 months. And you give them that $1,000 when you don't even have that $1,000. Why'd you do that? Because you got hangry. You know, you can get hangry with your appearance. Instead of dieting and exercise, maybe you spend money you don't have in surgeries and suctions because you got hangry. You know, you can get hangry with your soul. You can get hangry with your calling. God's got a calling over your life, but you don't want to wait for him to open the door, so you step out of the will of God at the wrong time. It's the right thing, but the wrong time because you got hungry and now you missed your calling because you stepped into something else because you rushed it. You can get hangry, and it's about that void that is there because of the unfulfilled want. And this is the predicament I'm in now as a pastor because I want nothing for the best for you, honestly. The things that Liz and I talk about when we talk about you is how can we lead them to a fulfilled life? But this is a problem because traditionally, in order to erase that void, I have to give you what you want. But I don't have what you want. I wish I could pull an Oprah up in here. Check under your chair. If there's a key under your chair, you want a car. You get a car. You get a car. Except maybe it wasn't a car. Maybe it was the key to a house or the key to a career. You get it and you get. But here's why that doesn't work. 2, I ain't got the money. 1, I ain't got the money. 2, even if I could fulfill that want, guess what you would want once I fulfilled that want? Something else. Because look at Adam and Eve. They had everything they needed. All the devil has to do is convince you that you're missing one thing. And then you'll want again. And that's when the leftovers came to mind. What if we can eliminate your want today? Oh, I know that's a big promise. But what if we can eliminate your want today? What if we can fill the void, not by giving you what you want, but by helping you remember what you already have? That's what I want to do today. Because I have faith in humanity. I've been preaching on gratefulness for 3 years now. And I have a theory. My theory is this. I don't think humans are not grateful. I know. I probably shouldn't think that because you see little humans and they're pretty ungrateful, it would seem. But I don't think even the little humans are ungrateful. Here's what I think. I think they're just forgetful. Or rather, they forget that they're full. They forget that they're already full. Have you forgotten that you are already full, that everything you could possibly need, if you think about it and you remember, you already have? I mean, I understand why we complain because it's hard, and it's not even your fault. Listen, the pressures and the problems of life, they lead us to complaining. And that's exactly what happened here in Numbers. In Numbers chapter 11, verse 1, you see it says that the people complained about their hardships in the presence of the Lord. Good thing I memorized that verse, and it's not on the screen. That the people complained. Now, the people complained about their hardships in the hearing of the Lord. Listen, they complained because it was hard. It was hard. Guys, it was hard, and that's why they complain. And I get it. The reason why you complain is because it's hard for you. And you know why they're complaining? They're complaining because their feet hurt. They've been walking for a long time, and their feet hurt, and it's hot, and so their feet hurt, and it's hot. So essentially, they're at Disney right now, right now, and they're complaining. And then look what it says, and their hardships they hear the Lord. And when they heard, and when he, the Lord, heard them, his anger was aroused. Now, if you're not careful, and this is your first time really understanding who God is, you might come to the false conclusion that God gets upset when we complain to him. And that would be inaccurate. God actually welcomes your complaints. Did you know that? He actually wants to be a part of them. He's like, just stop complaining. This is what God would rather have you do. God says, stop complaining about me and just complain to me. Even if you're going to complain about me, how about you complain about me to me? Just tell me. You mad at me? Tell me. It's all throughout scriptures. I won't give you all the biblical evidence for it, but it's all throughout scriptures. God would rather, he doesn't mind your complaint. So if God doesn't mind complaining, why is he upset at the Israelites here for complaining? Well, I'll tell you why. He's not mad because they're complaining in Numbers chapter 11. He's mad because they're complaining in Numbers chapter 11 like the book of Exodus didn't just happen. For those who don't understand Christian history or church history, in the book of Exodus, you have these people who have been slaves for 450 years, and God does supernatural miracles to get them out of slavery in the nation of Egypt to form their own country. And when they come out, they start complaining. And so here's the problem that God has with our complaints. Not that we complain, but we don't put our complaints in the proper context. If you would just put your complaints in context, I think you'd feel a lot better about where you are today. And so God's like, okay, I get it. Your feet hurt. I get it. And I'm sorry. And you're hot, and I'm sorry. But you were a slave for 450 years. To be fair, it all hurt. Can we think about what I did? Hey, I get it. Your feet hurt. But do you remember when I did the whole 10 plagues thing in the movie with Christian Bale and the accident and the thing, and the Boyz II Men sang that song in the animated version? And do you remember when I sent fire from heaven? Do you remember when I turned the Nile red? Do you remember when I defied the laws of physics by making the Red Sea stand at attention like if it was a soldier or the commander just gave an order? Do you remember how I brought tumbling down the world's greatest empire at the time in Egypt? I don't mind that you're complaining, but can we put your complaints into some context here? Like, today might not be the best day, but what about yesterday? And what about a year ago and 10 years ago? And the things that I've done in your life, don't forget. I put it this way: don't let what the devil's doing make you forget what God has done. Don't forget it. Because the temptation is real and the challenge is real, but so is his grace, and so is his mercy, and so is his goodness, and so is his love, and so is his faithfulness. And he's been with you all the way up until this. This moment might suck, but can we talk about how he helped you up until this moment? You got to put your complaints in context. And I will say this: don't just look back, look forward too. Because guess what you got coming? Eternity, heaven, paradise, in God's presence. Oh my God, if you would just put the troubles of today in the context of yesterday's faithfulness and tomorrow's promises, then today's problems would look momentary. Maybe that's why Paul said it. Today's troubles are momentary afflictions. They're gone in the blink of an eye when you compare it to the love I've received up until this point and the love I will experience to the end of time. It's momentary. Put your complaints in context. Y'all, like, it's bad, but in the big picture, I bet he's been more good than bad in your life. I bet you can point at those moments. Look at it in context. Because if not, you're going to get hangry and you're going to say and do dumb stuff. Like my kids, when they don't get what they want sometimes, this is what they say: this is the worst day ever. They say, this is the worst day of my life. Remember when you were a kid and you would threaten to run away because you ran out of Lucky Charms? I'm running away from home. This is the worst day ever. You're just hangry. You're just hangry. And you say crazy stuff like they said in Numbers 11, verse 6. Here's what they said. But now we have lost our appetite. So this is your complaint? To have lost your appetite means that you're what? So please follow this thought with me. So you're complaining because you're full? I don't know. It sounds silly, right? How could you complain if you're full? I don't know. You were full last night when you ate dinner. Tell me. How can you complain when you're full? How can you complain when you walked into church today in the power of your own two legs? It just seems silly. How can you complain when if you make $30,000 a year, $30,000 a year, or your home makes $30,000 a year, you are in the 1% most wealthiest people in the world. We have a missionary family here. They would tell you what life is like. How can you complain when you woke up today with basic human rights? 50% of the world does not have the right to life. They can be raped or murdered and have no legal consequence for it because they have no right. You woke up with basic human. How can you complain when you woke up and there was a roof over your head? So what if it had a leak? It was there. How can you complain when you drove to church today? So what if the AC doesn't work? I'm just saying, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm not trying to guilt you. I'm trying to remind you of everything that you have. Guys, you're already full. Don't let the devil convince you that you need something that you already have. Everything you need is in Christ Jesus. Verse 11 through verse 11:5, I'm going to tell you real quick. These are two things that we do in our life, or mindsets that we get in that cause us to be forgetful. And we have to be careful. We got to be on guard against them. The first one's in Numbers 11, verse 5. Here's what they say. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt at no cost. We remember, they said. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt at no cost. Also, the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. Here's when we become forgetful, and we forget that we're full. And if you could just remember that you're full, you would have more joy, you'd have more gratitude, life would be a lot better, regardless of what happens. Here's when it happens. When yesterdays are your best days. When yesterdays are your best days. It's so funny to me. Things get tough, and then they start to remember the good old days. The good old days? Bro, can you remind me where God delivered you from again? Where did he say he delivered him from? Where did he say he delivered him from? Huh? Yeah, in what country? You'd have thought God delivered them from Paris, France. You'd have thought God delivered them from Ibiza. You'd have thought God delivered them from Kokomo. Where I wanna go. Way down in Cocoa. Anyway, I got caught in a YouTube spiral yesterday, and I was there. Beach Boys. I was there. Oh, that's right. They delivered you from Egypt, where you were slaves. There's a reason why the food came at no cost. It's called rations. They gave it to you so you wouldn't fall over while you were working. You didn't have to pay with it with money because you paid for it with sweat and labor and work. But you forgot that. You remembered the food, but you forgot what you had to do to earn the food. This is the first biblical example of selective memory. You remember the fish, but you forgot when they fed your children to the fish. Do you remember that in Exodus? They threw babies in the Nile River. You're talking about fish. They threw your babies to the fish. You remember the bread, but you don't remember the bricks. You remember the leeks, but you don't remember the lashes. It's just this selective memory. And I'm just warning you, beware nostalgia. Beware nostalgia. Everybody here is like, man, I just wish if I could go back in the day, back in time. Here's what everybody says, no matter your age. If I could just be a kid again. No responsibility. Like you see a kid play in the playground, and you're like, oh, how I wish I could be a child once more. Yeah, that would be great. No respect. I wish, you know what I wish? I wish that fifth grade was recorded somewhere. I wish your fifth grade was recorded so you could see how it actually went down. I wish it was. I wish you could see your awkward face in fifth grade when you sat alone at the lunch table eating your boogers or Elmer's glue because you like the taste, you weirdo. I wish you could see how when you invited that girl to the dance, she said no. I wish you could remember all the times that you were bullied and they didn't pick you first for the dodgeball team. You want to go back to that? I wish you could see it. I wish it was on tape. Man, I'm glad they got 80s movies on tape. I'll tell you what. Because if not, I'd be telling my kids right now that the 80s were the greatest cinematic period in history, in American cinema. But because of Netflix, there's evidence to the contrary. I told my wife the other day, I was like, babe, we were surfing, and along came this movie, which I swore was my favorite movie as a kid. How many people have like 8 favorite movies as a kid? You know what I'm talking about? Just nostalgia. And I was like, babe, this movie, babe, it was called, I don't know if you know it, it was called Highlander. And there's this movie, it's pretty violent, don't watch it. It's a movie where these Scottish people are immortals, and all I remember was the fight scenes. And in order to beat an immortal, you had to chop his head off with a sword. I told you it was violent, don't watch it. And chop his head off with a sword, and then you would get that immortal's power, and it was like a fight to be the last one standing. There can be only one. I don't know if you remember this. No, okay, and it was really cool. And I told her, I said, you know how it is when you're with somebody, you've never seen Highlander, I told her. And she was like, no. I was like, we gotta watch it. She's like, are you sure it looks whack? I'm like, babe. This movie is the greatest movie of all time. Long story short, it was not. The fight scenes were just as good as I remember, but that was the only thing about them. As it was happening, I was hearing this in my mind going, this is not good. And I'm not even making eye contact with her. She's already committed an hour to this, and I'm gonna have to look at her eventually. This is not good. Can I tell you something about the good old days? They weren't that good. They weren't that good, guys. When I was a kid, my dad took me to Disney to ride Space Mountain. I was like, oh man, this is awesome, Space Mountain. And I remembered that, like, I felt like I was in space, okay? This is amazing. Well, when we moved to Florida when I was 16, my dad said, hey, let's go back to Disney. I was like, damn, we gotta ride Space Mountain like we did back in the day. That would be awesome. And we get to Space Mountain, and to my surprise, it's a 2-hour wait for a 3-minute ride. I remembered the ride, but somehow I had forgotten the wait. I don't know what I was expecting when I got there. I guess this to jump on, but my brain had eliminated that part completely. See, here's how we reminisce. When we reminisce, we remember the ride, but we forget the cost. Which is why you spend time on Instagram. Ooh, I'm sorry, this is gonna hurt, but you need to hear it. But just come back next week. This is why you spend time on Facebook and Instagram looking at your first girlfriend and your first boyfriend, because you remember the ride, but you forgot the. See, he made me feel so good. I wonder what he's up to right now. She made me, of course, y'all were in 7th grade. He didn't have a job. You were his world because that was it. You can't make that comparison. You remember the kiss, but you forgot the crazy. It didn't work out for a reason. It didn't work out for a reason. Or people who will look back and, man, life as a Christian is so hard. I sin now and I feel bad about it. At least when I was in the world, I would sin and not care. Now I got saved, same sin, new guilt. I wish I could go back to that old life. Oh, really? You remember the ride, but you don't remember the cost. It was exciting, but there was also emptiness. It was fun, but that's not all the facts. Here's the facts. Do you remember the club? Say, oh, the club was all great. It was good. Yeah. Do you remember the hangover the next morning? Do you remember being leaned over into an empty toilet bowl? Do you remember waking up to a stranger whose last name you didn't know? Do you remember the feeling of living life without purpose? I'm just saying, if we're going to remember, can we remember it all? If we're going to reminisce, can we reminisce about it all? You need to remember the pain. And here's why you need to remember the pain about yesterday. Because when you remember the pain about yesterday, it puts the pain of today in perspective. It puts the pain of today in context. You understand that the issue that you're facing today, it's not just a struggle, it's just the latest struggle. Come on, somebody. And if I got through the pain yesterday, I can get through the pain today, and I can get through the pain tomorrow. I can do it. I can do it. I went through it, and I can go through it again. Let's not retreat into the reminiscing. If you want to retreat into something, retreat into today. Why? Psalms 118:24. You want your best day? Let me introduce your best day to you. Psalms 118, verse 24. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. You want something to shout about? Shout about today. You want something to run to? Run to today. You want something to be glad about? Be glad about today. Because today has been architecturally designed to bless your life. Today is your best day, guys. It's not behind you and it's not ahead of you. It's right here, right now. Sunday, November. Yeah. It's your best day, man. How can it be my best day? I'm fighting cancer. It's your best day. Not, some of your worst days can be your best day. I remember when my baby, a lot of people don't know, and some people do. I say it more often. It's my testimony. Liz and I lost a baby after birth, and it was one of my worst days to see my baby die in my arms. But I can tell you that day wasn't just living in it. That wasn't just my worst day. It was also my best day. Why? Because I lost one person I loved. But in that hospital room next to me was my father, my mother, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law that drove, Charlie, Diane, family, friend, my pastor, people on my staff. I didn't just lose someone I loved. I was reminded of all the people that loved me. Your worst day could be your best day. Even when you lose someone you love, you can be reminded of how much you've been loved or have loved. Don't let your yesterday be your best day. You'll forget about the beauty of today, which is the day that the Lord has made. Here's my last point. Numbers 11, verse 6. But now we have lost our appetite. We never see anything but this manna. Excuse me? But this manna? You guys know what manna is? Manna. We don't really know what it is. In fact, the literal Hebrew translates into, what is it? That's what manna means, literally. So we don't know what it is. But here's what we do know. It was a type of bread that fell from heaven. We don't have anything but outer space bread. We don't have anything but this supernatural sustenance. We don't have anything but this raining cloud of pan sobao. We don't have anything. Sweet bread. Sweet bread. We don't have, and here's what's happening. Here's when they forgot. Are you ready for when they forgot? They began to forget. Listen, they became forgetful when the miracle became mundane. When the miracle becomes mundane. It's a miracle. It's bread from freaking heaven. We say freaking in this church. We have to give the lost people a bridge, you know? It's like we want to change them, but we got to do it in steps. And they were just like meh about it. It was just I had another point for this point. It was that when the manna becomes meh. When the manna becomes, they used to say, wow, what is it? And they went from wow to meh. Not because it wasn't special. Not because it wasn't a miracle. I hope this lands. But because they saw it every day. Not because it wasn't celestial or supernatural or awesome. Because they saw it every day. What miracle do you see every day that started with wow, but now has become meh? I'm going to talk to everybody. So if I don't hit you, I'll get there. want to talk to parents really quickly. You remember the first time you held your baby? Wow. Wow. Look, he looks like you. He looks like me. Isn't it amazing? Look how cute he is. And then one day he comes home with an F on his report card. You couldn't wait to bring him home. Now you can't wait to drop him off at his grandma's. It started off wow, and it became meh. But lose a child. That day when I was in the hospital and we had lost our son, my sister-in-law, who, how old is she now? Lisa. 40, I don't want to offend her. 40-something. Mid-40s. Has been married over 20 years. Has not been able to have children. She put her hand on my shoulder as we were losing the baby, and she didn't say it because she didn't want to, but I could see it in her eyes what she was saying. What I would give to lose a child. What I would give to have one even for a couple hours. Your baby, whether they're 16 months or 16 years old, don't ever let them stop being a wow moment to you. They're a miracle. They're a miracle. Married people, fellas, remember when she came down the aisle? You were like, wow. And then the honeymoon night, and you were like, wow. What happened? Where did it go? How did it get from wow to meh? You know what I think happened? You just used to seeing them every day, just like the manna. And because you see them every day, you forget just how awesome of a miracle they are. The crazy thing is, the thing that makes them mundane in your eyes is actually the thing that makes them a miracle in mine. They're there every day. Exactly. When they were coming home from work, that 417 South to Miami sign looked real good. Come on. But you know what they did? They came home. And you know what they do every day? They come home. That's a miracle. Matter of fact, all my single people, I'll talk to you in just a moment, but I'm going to leave you out. But if you're married, would you just do me a favor? Would you just look at that person just real quick and just say, wow. One good one, but wait for it, build it up. Give them one good wow. Do it now. Charlie, be obedient. Do it now. Do it now. Wow. Wow, girl, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. Don't let Journey Church become meh. This is a miracle. Over 200 people have said yes to Jesus Christ this year alone. 2 weeks ago, 33 kids 2 weeks ago raised their hand and gave their life to Jesus. 33 kids gave their lives to Jesus. Our church has grown from 200 to 1,100 people in 3 years. Every time you come in here, a marriage is being restored, an addiction is being broken, somebody's being set free from an evil spirit. This is a miracle. And every time you get ready to church in the morning, just know that you're coming to something special. Don't let Jesus become meh. Let the cross be a wow moment in your life. Come on, you were on a path to destruction. You didn't deserve this love, and he came from heaven, stepped out into the flesh, laid his life down on the cross for you and for me, even though he knew that we would reject him not once, but time and time again, and some of us will never give our life to him, and he died anyway. Wow. 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 Are you ready? This one's going to hit everybody. Single, married, everyone. Divorced, everyone. Ready? This is for you. Don't let your life become meh. Can you believe you're at church right now? Going through a divorce and you showed up at church right now? You should be dead, but you're at church right now? Your life could have gone 8 different directions, but somehow you ended up in the house of God here this morning. Wow. Wow. Don't you dare let your life, which is, you're a miracle. You're a miracle. Did you hear me? You're a freaking miracle. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Your life could have gone so many different ways. I don't know if you know, but there's a movie coming out. It's called Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And it is the kind of a story of this man named Mr. Rogers. For a lot of us, we know who he is, but there's a whole generation that doesn't know who he is. And so for the sake of that generation, I'll go ahead and explain it. It was a guy, he was a Christian minister. A lot of people don't know this. He grew up in Winter Park. He's a Winter Park resident. He graduated from Rollins College. So Winter Park is his stomping ground. The minister who ended up doing a children's show on PBS called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I grew up with him. My dad grew up with him. That's how long he'd been doing it. And in this movie, it tells a story about his life, and there was this practice that he would do. And as I was watching this sneak peek of the movie, as I'm watching it, it ministered to me, and I thought, I'd like to do this with you. And I don't know, it might be awkward. Let me just rephrase that. It will be awkward. But I also think it can be powerful depending on how you approach it. Here's what he did. He was sitting down with this guy, and it comes from a commencement speech that he gave in 2002. He died in 2003, so a year before he passed away, at Dartmouth College. He gave this speech. He was the speaker. He said, I'd like to give you all an invisible gift, a gift of a silent minute to think about those who have helped you become who you are today. Some of them may be here right now. Some may be far away. Some, like my astronomy professor, may even be in heaven. But wherever they are, if they've loved you, if they encouraged you, if they wanted what was best in life for you, they're right inside yourself. And I feel that you deserve quiet time on this special occasion to devote some thought to them. So let's just take a minute in honor of those that have cared about us along the way. One silent minute. It's been a moment. I'm going to ask the band to stop playing in a second. When I do, I want you to take 1 minute. I got my phone up here to put a timer on. And I just want you to take 1 minute, and I want you to think about all the people who helped you become who you are today. Remember, it's a miracle. Are you ready? All right. Ben, you ready? We're going to bring it down. 1 minute. Think about all the people who helped you become who you are today. That was it. Jared, you're fired. You can play. How'd that feel? That gratefulness fill you? All you had to do, I didn't give you anything. All I did was help you remember. Help you remember all the people who cried with you, prayed for you. That grandma you never met who prayed for her babies and her descendants to meet the Lord. God, thank God. The people who gave the money to start this church, who left families. Right? Well, now, I want you to stand on your feet if you can all over this room. And this time we'll have some music. But this time I want you to think about this. I see Richard in the second row there. I just called your name because I see you and I think about you and I remember your story about how you grew up in a foster home and you had a tough life living, growing up, and you're here at church today. Your life could have gone a million different ways. Here's what I want you to do now. I want you to think. But as you think, we're going to worship. I told you I want you to think about all the people who helped you. Now here's what I want you to think about now. We'll close out. Now I want you to think about all the times your life could have gone a different direction. When I was 10 years old, I got hit by a Ford pickup truck riding my bicycle. Hard. I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit or fear, because I wasn't supposed to be driving my bike in that area of town. I got right up, carried my bike that had bent in half over my shoulder. I told the guy who hit me, don't tell my dad. And I limped over. I was limping, but I could have died. I think about those moments, and I want you to think about all those moments where life could have took a left. Remember that time where it got real dark and you thought you wasn't gonna make it, and then somehow God sent an angel? I want you to think about those moments where life could have been something else, and instead, he came. That's where the gratitude comes from. When I think about the Lord, how he saved me, how he raised me, how he filled me with the Holy Ghost, how he healed me to the uttermost. When I think about the Lord.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't let the journey stop here. We'd love for you to do one of three things: either subscribe, share, or support. If this ministry blessed you at all, subscribe so that you can find out when the next video comes out. Share it with a friend. You never know what the people closest to you are going through. Or you can choose to support us financially, which helps bring these videos to people like you. Thank you so much for your time. God bless.